whole background. I love covering the NBA as well. And I'm only bringing this up because I have been getting more nasty comments lately from my subscribers who are specifically here for WNBA content, and I think that's incredible that a lot of you, like so many of you, are here for the W content. But I guess all I'm asking is, if you see a video of a sport that you're not necessarily that interested in, like the NBA, all I'm asking is to please just not write a nasty comment just to write a nasty comment, because I'm actually seeing this from loyal subscribers that have been here for a while, and I just don't really understand it. So I'm just asking you, if you don't like the NBA content, just keep.
Azie Fudd just shattered a WNBA record in a single quarter, leaving the entire league, including Caitlin Clark, absolutely stunned. For weeks, critics called Fudd a bust, questioning why the Dallas Wings even took her at number 1. Then, in just 10 minutes of pure madness against the New York Liberty, she hit 5 three-pointers and racked up 17 points in a single frame. It wasn't just a breakout, it was a loud message to every superstar who thought the spotlight was only big enough for one person. The silence from the Indiana Fever camp was deafening as the hierarchy of the league shifted in real time.
Indiana Fever's injury reporting, and specifically of Caitlin Clark, they announced it like 90 minutes before the game, and I made a video right then, and I wasn't so happy with it. And I didn't think it was great injury reporting, and I also stand on that. I stand by that. I think they did a poor job with the injury reporting. Now, Caitlin Clark came out and she said that it was actually her decision. Her parents knew 20 minutes before we knew that she wasn't going to be playing in that game. She didn't practice the day before, and she thought that she was going to play, and then before the game, I think it was a mix of her mental and physical and just not kind of feeling ready to go out there, and obviously with all of the injuries that she suffered last season, just kind of playing it safe. So it was her call. It wasn't anything malicious on the front.
While everyone was focused on Caitlin Clark's logo threes, a new statistical monster emerged that has completely flipped the script on who actually controls the floor. The WNBA just released its first ever player gravity chart, and the results are honestly embarrassing for the biggest names in the sport. Gravity measures how much a player forces a defense to collapse, and while Clark was expected to run away with the top spot, she wasn't even close to the summit. Instead, names like Sony Citron and Marina Maber are dominating the rankings, proving that having the ball doesn't mean you have the most influence.
Them as questionable or probable or just one of those things, you know? In that video, there were clips that came out of it, and there was a lot of media who were writing about the things that I said, and there were headlines that were like, Rachel Demita demands for the whole Indiana Fever staff to be fired. And it's like, I normally don't address things like this. I see those kind of articles all the time, and people are going to clip my show. I know that we have a big voice in this space, and I think that's amazing, but at the same time, like, that just wasn't true. And on a personal level, I wanted to clear the air there because I actually know people on the Fever's training staff who I think are incredible coaches. Like, we had Coach K.
Looking closer at the data, Caitlin's on-ball gravity is still elite, sitting at a massive 5.3. But the moment the ball leaves her hands, her impact plummets in a way that's worrying for the Fever's long-term success. She's being picked up 94 feet and face-guarded, yet the stats show she isn't demanding that same respect when she's moving without the rock. This is the exact opposite of what made Steph Curry a dynasty-level threat. If Caitlin can't learn to pull defenders away when she's playing off ball, she might find herself trapped in a box while other stars like Azzi Fudd start stealing her thunder.
Long bombs, and we hadn't seen a player like that before. So I want to share with you guys the current list and some of these top players. So Sonia Citron is actually at the top of this list. Marina Mabrey, then Kayla McBride, then Ryan Howard, then Kalia Copper. I thought that this was so interesting because Caitlin Clark is far down this list, and I think when we think about gravity, we think that she is that number one player because of how many teams shift their defenses to adapt to Caitlin. But what I thought was so interesting about this equation that they're kind of using, so they have on-ball gravity and then they have off-ball gravity. I will also preface this by saying
Azie Fudd's explosion wasn't just about the points, it was about the efficiency that made the number one pick look like a seasoned veteran. After a slow start to the season that had fans scratching their heads, she finally found her rhythm, finishing with 24 points, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. She didn't just shoot the ball. She dominated every facet of the game against a New York Liberty super team that was supposed to be untouchable. This wasn't a fluke performance, it was a reminder that the talent gap between the generational prospects is much smaller than the media wants you to believe.
in the perimeter gravity, so her behind the three-point arc. And then when you look at the off-ball gravity, that's when things change. So her perimeter off-ball gravity in minutes played is high, but then when you look at her perimeter off-ball gravity and her interior off-ball gravity, that's when it starts getting lower. And I think that's just so interesting when we're talking about, like, one of the biggest topics of conversation is Caitlin Clark playing off the ball. And I do think there is something to Steph Curry's game that Caitlin Clark doesn't have, but I think if she develops that into her game, her movement off the ball, coming off screens, again, a lot of the time that's also the offense that the team will be running.
While Fudd is rising, Caitlin Clark is dealing with a mountain of drama behind the scenes that's starting to boil over into public controversy. The Indiana Fever recently got slapped with a league warning over their poor injury reporting after Clark was ruled out just 90 minutes before tip-off. But the real story is what happened in the locker room. Caitlin admitted it was her call to sit, citing a mix of mental and physical fatigue that she just couldn't overcome. It's a rare moment of vulnerability for a player who usually seems indestructible, and it reveals the massive toll this season is taking on her.
Like, for example, the New York Liberty. Okay, Alexa Philippou, she tweeted this today. She said, something not on my bingo card in the preseason. The Portland Fire have won the season series over the New York Liberty 2-1, which is also crazy when you talk about the WNBA scheduling. Like, why have the Portland Fire and the New York Liberty played each other as much as they are going to play each other this season? And we've had like 3 weeks of the WNBA. Like, that's kind of crazy. Anyway, the Fire's record right now is 4 wins and 3 losses, and the Liberty are 3-4 on the season. Now, if we remember at the beginning of this season, the Liberty kind of created a...
The tension in Indiana reached a breaking point when rumors started swirling that analysts were demanding the entire coaching staff be fired over the handling of Clark's health. Headlines exploded, claiming that the team's medical and training staff were on the chopping block because they couldn't keep their superstar on the court. While the team tried to clear the air, the sentiment remains. In professional sports, if the face of the franchise can't stay healthy, someone usually pays the price with their job. The pressure on Coach Christy Sides and her staff is now at an all-time high.
That's been really unique that we're seeing in basketball in general, and especially even in the NBA. It's like the teams that have created super teams or have manufactured rosters and just put a bunch of players who are really good together are not always the teams who win, and they haven't been the teams who have won. The teams who have won have been the teams that have built from the ground up so strategically and gotten homegrown talent and taken a few years to build the chemistry between these players and had a star player, built around the star player, brought in role players who just make sense, not necessarily the best players in the league. And so I think this Portland Fire team,
History shows us that when a mega superstar in any league struggles with health, the front office enters a state of panic. We've seen it in the NBA with players like Luka or Wemby. The entire organization's survival depends on that one person being available. If Caitlin continues to miss games or play under 100%, the ripples will be felt across the entire WNBA ecosystem. The league's success is currently tethered to her presence, and seeing a rival like Azzi Fudd take over the headlines while Caitlin sits on the sideline is a nightmare scenario for the Indiana marketing team.
Minutes, she hasn't scored that many points. Like, what's going on with Azie Fudd? And she proved everyone wrong in this game. So this was actually a game also against the New York Liberty where she had 17 points in the third quarter alone, and she broke the WNBA record for the most threes made in a single quarter. So she made 5 threes in this quarter, and the Dallas Wings ended up beating the New York Liberty. She ended the game with 24 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. It is interesting because I feel like the 6th Man of the Year award this year in the WNBA is going to be really fun because you have somebody like Azie Fudd coming off the bench.
But the drama isn't just limited to the Fever. The Portland Fire, an expansion team everyone expected to be at the bottom of the standings, just pulled off the impossible. They won their season series against the New York Liberty 2-1, a feat that has left basketball analysts completely stunned. This is a team with no expectations and a clean slate, yet they are out-hooping the most expensive rosters in the league. It proves that chemistry and fire often beat manufactured super teams, and it's a massive wake-up call for the veterans who thought they could just coast through the schedule. Leading the charge for Portland is Sarah Ashley Barker, a player who is quickly becoming a fan favorite for her absolute lack of fear. She's hitting buzzer beaters and getting tackled by her teammates in celebration, playing with a level of confidence that usually takes years to develop. Her coach has given her a permanent green light, enabling her to take shots that would get most rookies benched. This kind of do-it-our-way attitude is exactly what's missing from some of the more established franchises that are currently struggling to find their identity in a rapidly evolving league. On the flip side, the New York Liberty are looking like a shell of themselves, and the frustration is visible. With stars like Sabrina Ionescu and Jonquel Jones on the roster, they were supposed to be the gold standard. Instead, they're sitting at 3-4 on the season, losing to teams that didn't even exist a year ago. Between illnesses, injuries, and a lack of cohesive play, the super team experiment is currently on life support. If they can't figure out how to play as a unit, they might go down as one of the biggest disappointments in the history of the sport. The battle for the 6th Woman of the Year award is turning into a heavyweight fight that no one saw coming. You have Azzi Fudd coming off the bench for Dallas and dropping record-breaking numbers, but she's not the only one. Sarah Ashley Barker is averaging 10 points a game for Portland, and then there's Kennedy Carter. Carter has spent time playing in China and Mexico, refining her game until she became an unstoppable ISO player. Now with the Las Vegas Aces, she's averaging 20 points per game without even starting. The bench talent in the league right now is deeper than it has ever been. Kennedy Carter's return to the WNBA has been nothing short of a redemption arc. After dominating overseas with 50 and 60-point performances, she's brought a new level of composure to the Aces rotation. She handles the ball with a precision that makes her nearly impossible to guard one-on-one. While she isn't getting massive minutes yet, her efficiency is through the roof. It's only a matter of time before the coaching staff is forced to put her in the starting lineup, but for now, she is the ultimate weapon coming off the pine, waiting to torch unsuspecting defenses. Another name that just sent shockwaves through the league is UC Today. After spending time in France playing alongside Dominique Malonga, she finally made her highly anticipated WNBA debut last night. She didn't waste a single second, checking into the game and scoring immediately off an out-of-bounds play. At just 21 years old, she plays with the poise of a 10-year veteran. Her shot is smooth, her frame is strong, and her basketball IQ is off the charts. The Valkyries fans were on their feet for a reason. They know they have a future superstar on their hands. Watching UC Today play in France was a preview of the greatness we're seeing now. She was a 19-year-old competing against grown women and making them look amateur. Her transition to the WNBA has been seamless because she's already used to the physical, high-stakes environment of professional ball. She handles the rock like a guard, but has the strength to finish through contact in the paint. If you haven't put her on your radar yet, you're already behind. She is the kind of player who changes the ceiling of a franchise the moment she steps onto the hardwood. Back to those gravity rankings, because there is one name at the top that has everyone talking: Sony Citron. How does a player who doesn't get half the media coverage of Caitlin Clark end up with more gravity? The answer lies in the off-ball movement. Citron is a constant threat who forces defenders to stay glued to her hip, opening up lanes for her teammates. It's a specialized skill that the WNBA is finally starting to track, and it's exposing the difference between being a ball-dominant star and a player who truly changes the geometry of the entire basketball court. Even in the categories where Caitlin Clark should be winning, the competition is fierce. In perimeter gravity, she's sitting at a 5.3, while Sony Citron is trailing at a 2.4. This means Caitlin is still the biggest threat behind the arc, but she's losing the battle in the interior and off-ball sectors. The data suggests that teams are willing to let Caitlin's teammates beat them as long as they can keep her contained. It's a defensive strategy that worked for years against lone superstars in other leagues, and now it's being perfected against the Fever's top draft pick. The pressure of these rankings and the constant comparisons is clearly getting to the players and the media alike. Analysts have addressed the nasty comments they have been receiving from fans who are upset whenever the conversation shifts away from the Indiana Fever. The fan base has become incredibly protective and at times aggressive. This intensity shows how much the league has grown, but it also creates a toxic environment where every missed game or bad stat becomes a reason for a digital riot. The Clark effect has brought millions of eyes, but it's also brought a level of scrutiny that is unprecedented. One of the biggest complaints coming out of the locker rooms right now is the crazy WNBA scheduling. The Portland Fire and the New York Liberty have already played each other 3 times in just a few weeks. It makes no sense for a season series to be decided before the first month is even over. This condensed schedule is leading to more injuries and less recovery time for stars like Caitlin Clark. When you combine travel, back-to-back games, and the mental pressure of being a global icon, it's no wonder we're seeing superstars struggle to stay on the floor for 40 minutes. What made Azzi Fudd's performance against the Liberty so special was her ability to adapt mid-game. She wasn't just launching random shots, she was hunting mismatches and exploiting a tired Liberty defense. Breaking the record for most threes in a single quarter isn't just about shooting, it's about confidence and rhythm. When she hit that fifth three, the look on her face said everything. She knew the doubters were watching. She knew the bust labels were being deleted in real time. It was a career-defining moment that proved the Dallas Wings were right to trust her potential. Caitlin Clark has been open about how hard it is to overcome the mental hurdles of injuries. She's a player who never wants to sit on the sideline, but she's learning the hard way that her body has limits. The transition from college to the pros is a meat grinder, and the physical toll is only half the battle. When you see your peers like Azzi Fudd having historical nights while you're stuck in the training room, it messes with your head. Caitlin is a competitor through and through, and you can bet she's using this gravity chart as fuel for her eventual comeback to the top. As we look toward the next few seasons, the addition of teams like the Toronto Tempo is going to change the league forever. The success of the Portland Fire and the Golden State Valkyries has proven that there is plenty of room for more talent. The old guard of the WNBA is being challenged by a wave of young, fearless players who don't care about reputations. Whether it's Sarah Ashley Barker's swagger or USA Today's clinical efficiency, the new era of women's basketball is officially here, and it's much more than just a one-player show featuring a single household name. Coaches across the league are now tearing up their old defensive playbooks. The gravity stats have given them a roadmap on how to neutralize the league's biggest threats. They aren't just guarding the ball anymore, they are guarding the space. If you're a shooter, you're being chased off the line. If you're a driver, the paint is packed. This tactical evolution is making the games more competitive than ever, but it's also making it harder for rookies to find their footing. Only the truly elite, like Fudd and Clark, will be able to adapt and continue to dominate as the defenses get smarter. The landscape of the WNBA is shifting faster than anyone predicted. We came into this season expecting a coronation for Caitlin Clark, but instead we got a war for the top spot. Azzi Fudd's record-breaking night and the rise of expansion underdogs have proven that the script hasn't been written yet. While the gravity charts might say one thing today, the heart and hustle of these players will decide the rankings tomorrow. One thing is certain, the era of the uncontested superstar is over. Every night is a battle for respect, and only those who can handle the heat will survive the fire.